Hi, I'm Nicole, and this is Nick's Picks. I basically post a video once a month talking about the books that I picked out to read that month. Except this year, I have not stayed on top of it well. I did my January, February, March video all together, and then I did an April video, and then I kind of stopped at that point. So today, I'm going to be talking about the 8 books that I read in May and June. And as always, I'm going to start, as I've been doing this year, with talking about my book. So this year I put one of my novels up on Kindle Direct Publishing. And so it's available on Amazon as an ebook, a paperback. You could download it for free on Kindle Unlimited. This is basically a spicy second chance romance about 2 people that were high school, college sweethearts, broke up, married other people, and now they meet up once a year at a resort in the Catskills to have an affair. And they each bring their best friend with them, and it becomes a nice little escape to a carefree 17 with each other again every year. So this is Heart's Content Road by me, Nicole Avery, available on Amazon. Hope you'll check it out. And now we'll get into the books that I read in May and June. So starting in May, it was awesome. I started with The Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. So this is part of the Dream Harbor series. Probably, I'm gonna say it, I think it's my favorite one in the series so far. I really like this. I never really seek out the single dad trope, but every time I read one, I tend to love it. So maybe I do kind of like that dynamic. Basically, this is about, so before this, we have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, we have the Cinnamon Bun Bakery, and we have the Christmas Tree Farm, and then it's Strawberry Patch Pancake House. And this one follows Iris, who we were introduced to in the Christmas Tree Farm. She was working at the farm. She needs a job. She ends up becoming a nanny for Archer. Archer is a famous chef that used to live in France, and then found out that he had a daughter that he was not aware of, and moved back, and her mom died, so he moves back to Dream Harbor to kind of take care of her. And then Iris is the live-in nanny, and it just goes from there. And I just loved this book so much. The spice was great. The pacing was great. I feel like sometimes it's okay, enough's enough. I keep hearing what they're each thinking so much, and then we're hearing the same thing over and over. Really, I felt like this was the best with that. This is Alvin, so he's gonna be popping in and out, I guess. I really love this book. I think this might be, again, my favorite one so far in the Dream Harbor series. That whole series is great, and I can't wait to keep going with the next one. But this is definitely worth checking out. I love this book. I mean, you could read it as a standalone, but again, they're all so good that I definitely would suggest starting with the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. They're also so seasonal. You really get into the seasons with these books. So it's nice to read them with their corresponding seasons, because it just really puts you in the mood. They're great. And the art, the covers and everything are always so beautiful. I love them. This is a great book. Love it. All right, so that was a definite 100%. I probably would give that a 5-star. Next, I read The Dinner Party by Frida McFadden. Now, I am a huge Frida McFadden fan, as you can see on my Frida McFadden shelf here. I've read a bunch of her books. This is they're calling it a pick your poison adventure, which is basically a choose your own adventure. So it was something a little different. So this was not a high stakes, story and mystery and all that kind of stuff. Her normal stuff is so fast paced and fun. This was basically, again, it's very short. So it is quick, but you're not going to be super invested in any characters or really anything that's going on. You could pick which way you go. Eventually, I did it the right way the first time through, where I was picking and just following my choices. And then I just kind of went back and went through every scenario. So I made sure to kind of read it cover to cover, read everything in the book, went back and picked different ways so I could see how it played out. And it was just okay for me. This was not some big, oh my God, you have to do this, you have to read it, it's so fun. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. And again, just something different. So, and again, short. So if you were really just in the mood for something like that, and a little bit of a throwback to your childhood, choose your own adventures, pick it up. But otherwise, it was just okay. But it was definitely interesting. Just a little something different. It was even like some of the storylines were a little weird, and the way one of them played out at the end. I hate that I waited so long to do these videos because I'm not like fresh on these books anymore, but I feel like there was something I really didn't love about how one of the scenarios played out, and I was just like a little weirded out by that, but a little over the top some of the things, like, but you know, so it was just okay for me. I remember not like loving especially one scenario how it played out, but again, just this was just like a game basically, not even a really like a read. This was just like a game. And then, highly anticipated, I read The Last Party by A.R. Torrey, or Torrey, I don't know how you say it. I hear so much about this book and how it's one of like the best thrillers and how this author is great, and I've never read anything by them before. So I really went into this, and even like the first page, like I was hooked immediately by the first chapter. It was funny, it's just written very well. And I wasn't necessarily disappointed, but I just wasn't like, oh my God, everybody go pick up this book either. So do with that what you will. Again, it's hard to talk about this so far removed because I don't remember when you find certain things out, and I don't want to spoil anything. But the basic premise is this is about, what was her name? Perla. Perla and her husband Grant, and they have a daughter, Sophie. Yeah, Sophie. And you get different perspectives. You get Perla's perspective, you get Sophie's journal entries, and you get the perspective of an inmate, Leewood Fulcrum, who went to jail years ago for, he confessed to murdering girls at a 12-year-old birthday party. So it's now Sophie's birthday party that they're planning for, and Perla, from the get-go, in like the beginning, we know she has fun with lying. So we know that, you know, we're not always sure what's going on there. We know something happens. This reminds me of like Big Little Lies, where the beginning of the chapters would sometimes start with like a person, a neighbor, or somebody's, you know, take on what happened after the fact. So, you know, we are leading up to some devastating event happening, and then we're also hearing about the guy that went to jail for the event years ago, and you're just kind of trying to figure out how it all ties in and like what's going on. And it was suspenseful. I definitely, you know, kept my interest. I definitely wanted to keep reading. It was well written. Again, I guess I was just, it was a little overhyped for me, so I was expecting this to be the greatest thriller I've ever read, or one of, and I probably would not put it there. But it was good, and it played out well, and, you know, I was satisfied at the end, so it was good. But again, I feel like it's maybe a little bit overhyped. I wasn't like super, super shocked. I guess what you would call the big twist, or one of. Either one, I wasn't really like super shocked on. I was thinking along those lines. So yeah, I mean, it was good. It was worth the read, but definitely not like top of my list books. And then me and Holly Jackson, I don't really know what our relationship is, because I read Not Quite Dead Yet. I was so super intrigued by this premise. And that's the only reason I would pick it up, because if you've watched my videos last year, I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and truly, hot take, disliked it. I know that's like a favorite for so many people. I really did not connect with that book. I didn't like the pacing of it. I never wanted to pick it up. It was like a chore to get through it. I don't DNF, but I always say that's one that I came close. I don't know what it was about it that I just didn't connect with, and I just didn't love it. So you would not think I'd be quick to read another one. However, this sounded so good to me, and this book is cool. We got the red edges here. It's like blood. And the premise here is that Jet gets attacked and kind of left for dead, but she's not dead, but she has a fatal injury. So she only has like a week to live. So she's going to spend that week solving her own murder. So this sounds amazing. I was like hooked by the premise alone. Happily, as I'm reading it, I find out that it's not the same as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder for me, where I didn't want to pick it up, or it was moving slow, whatever it was, the arrangement, however she set up that book that I didn't enjoy. I was really into this. I wanted to keep reading. It was suspenseful. I enjoyed the writing. I thought it was very well written. Jet has a male friend, kind of like in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, that's like helping her with this, and maybe there's some romantic feelings there and all that stuff. And here's another case where I read it too long ago to know for sure how much I could say without spoiling it, but I really, really, really disliked the ending. It went all down. I was going to give this book 5 stars, and now I have a hard time giving it 3 for the ending alone. And again, I can't say too much without spoiling, but what I will say is, even if it was headed in a certain direction or you expect something to happen, and it was going to play out this way, and I'm disappointed that it played out a certain way. But even if we were going to play it out that way, I still would have done 1 or 2 things different that I just really was just not sitting well with me. I totally was just so disappointed by the ending. Like, it crushed me. Like, I did not like it. And it wasn't just like, oh, I needed a certain thing to happen, or, and again, it's hard for me to say what I want to say because I don't want to spoil anything. But even with the way it played out, if that's not what I wanted to happen, but okay, it has to happen and all of that, I still would have wished a couple of other things happened differently. And when it comes to who did this and everything, there's suspicion on everyone. She's got a weird, something going on with her brother. There's an element of taking over the family business going on here. And so there's something going on with the brother, with the sister-in-law, with a couple of people that we're suspicious of throughout. She got like an ex-boyfriend. There's like a story there. So we're suspicious of a lot of people. But the ultimate person is someone that I had my eye on from the jump. It just, that was a little disappointing. Again, how it all played out was a little disappointing. Again, I can't say too much more, but bottom line is I was pleasantly surprised by how much I was enjoying this journey, because I did not enjoy the other journey with her other book that I read. But the ending just was not great for me on multiple fronts. And so that ruined it for me, and it ruined it for me even recommending it, to say I would have been recommending this left and right had it played out a little differently. I probably would not even recommend this to someone, just because I feel like it's not a satisfying enough situation going on at the end. That's just, again, my probably hot take, because I know this is also a super popular book that people love. And Holly Jackson is a great author. Again, the writing's great. Like, I know, it's just certain things I'm just not connecting with, I guess. And that's, 2 books now. But, again, everybody has different tastes. No ill feelings, or I don't mean to say anything negative. It's just for me and for my preferences and all that. If you tend to vibe with me like that, it didn't do it for me. Neither one of these books did. Will I give another one a shot? Probably. Again, she's a well-regarded author, and a lot of people like her books, so I'm always up for something. But so far, I mean, the first one I didn't really enjoy at all. Again, I'm not sure exactly why, but and if you want to see my video on that, that's from last year. This one I definitely enjoyed more, but just the ending ruined it for me. So that's that. And then, actually, before that book, I meant to do this first. Before that book, we have this one. So we're still in May at this point. That was my last May book, but I read this before that. This is The Answer Is No by Frederick Backman. And I have a lot of his books on my TBR, a couple of them. But I haven't read them yet. So this is the first book of his that I've actually read. And this is really just a short story. It's like a novella. It's not even 100 pages, maybe 70 pages. This was so funny and so fun, and I would 100% recommend this. I read it on my Kindle, and it's basically just a little funny, like so humorous. I can't even explain how humorous this is. This was so well written, so smart, so smart, and so funny, and I am so excited to read more of his stuff now that I've read this. Basic situation here is Lucas lives in an apartment building. He's very to himself, doesn't want to get involved with neighbors, anything like that. And one day the board knocks on his door and asks to see his frying pan because there was an incident where somebody left a frying pan like outside the recycling bin, and they're trying to get to the bottom of who it was. And his simple suggestions, like to just get rid of it or whatever, it just spirals out of control. He gets much more involved and roped in than he wants to be. They put him in charge of the project at some point. Other neighbors get involved. Different factions of people develop. And it is so fun and funny. This is obviously pure symbolism. I mean, it's just kind of societal commentary. This is like a high school English teacher's dream. I could picture having to read this for school and answering questions on it. But it just in and of itself, it's still so entertaining and so funny and fun to read, and so quick. So I would recommend this, and I'm excited to read more of his stuff. So then after that, I read the Holly Jackson book. This kind of ended May and even did go into June a little bit. I wasn't finished with it before June started. But now we're in June. And I'm going to talk about these next two books together because they're from the same series. So we have Wild Love by Elsie Silver, and we have Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. And they are both part of the Rose Hill series. Let me tell you, this you have to go out and buy immediately. Buy the whole series. I've got the next book on the way. I could not put these down. I've never read Elsie Silver before, and I know how highly people speak of her. She's a favorite romance author for many, so I was excited. I've had this one for a while and just haven't picked it up. I'm so excited that I did. I could not put this down. I am so in love Love and with everything that she's got going on with the setting. This takes place in a lake kind of town in Canada, and oh my God, it's not necessarily like cowboy, but there is that kind of stuff. Like there's horses, and there's this one. Let me back up because I'm going too fast. This one is about Ford Grant, who is amazing. He's a great MMC. And he moves back to Rose Hill. His father is a famous musician, and now he's in Rose Hill. He's like a billionaire, and he opens up a recording studio. This is a town that he used to visit when he was younger on vacations. He has a best friend that lives there, West, and his little sister, Rosie. That's the love interest here. They kind of reconnect. She's moved back home because she had something going on. She moved to the city and didn't work out with her job and stuff. So she's also freshly back in Rose Hill, and she ends up working for him, and the sparks fly. And they always kind of had something from when they were younger, and it's so great. And the spice is so good. My one negative on the spice, and I'm trying to think of what other series this was where I felt the same way. I don't know if it was maybe the Rebel Blue Ranch series where all of a sudden just things got super dirty. Oh, you know what it was too? Megan Quinn. Those Christmas books by Megan Quinn. Where it was not wholesome and whatever, but I just feel like the spice stuff just took a little bit of a turn that I wasn't expecting for those particular characters. Not that I like all kinds of spice and I was fine with that spice, but it jolted me a little bit for those characters, that it just kind of went a little bit 0 to 60 with I don't even want to say dirty talk, but I can't describe it. It was, I don't know. There was just a little something that I wasn't expecting from those particular characters. So that would be the only tiny thing, but it's still great. And the spice is great, and what they're doing is great. So it's still fun. But yes, this guy is amazing. The way this plays out is amazing. The pacing is amazing. Just, exactly what you want to happen happens at the exact time you want it to happen. And then, you have that typical, then we have a problem, but then it gets resolved. It's perfect. It's perfect. This is a 5-star. And then I wanted to read something else, and I actually ended up reading it concurrently. I never do that. So this book and the last book I'm going to talk about, I read at the same time. I read a couple chapters of this, couple chapters of that. Total concurrent, not just a little overlapping when I was almost done. No, total concurrent, because I wanted to read that other book, and I just couldn't wait to read this book, though. I had to keep going with this series. So I read this one is about West, so that's where we spin off there. And he's single dad. So we're back to that trope, and this was even better. I probably would say this book was even better than Wild Love. So there's a famous pop star, Skylar, and she comes to Rose Hill to record with Ford. So we still see these characters. They're still part of it, which is fun. Oh, and I'm sorry. There was also Dad. I can't believe I messed that. Ford found out that he had a daughter that he didn't know about. Older, though. She was like 12 or something. And she's a great character. She talks a little bit older. I mean, I have a 10-year-old, and this girl, I don't know. She talks a little bit older than a 12-year-old, in my opinion, but she's a great character. She's funny. And that's a whole thing, too. So the single dad thing, or, I guess really does get me going because these were great. So West, though, going back to West, he has 2 young children, and he's divorced. And so, he sees them on and off every other week or whatever. And Skylar is a pop star that's having a crisis and not loving the spotlight anymore and is kind of retreating on her own to Rose Hill to record this album with Ford. It's going to be her own thing. She's taking a break from her parents who, always rode her too hard, and, they were like, too career driven with her. And we find out like early on that they kind of screwed her over in some way, and so she's kind of just trying to run away from that whole situation and do something that she, on her own, and that's what this album with Ford's going to be. So there's that element of it. That alone is a great story. Like, just her journey is a great story. And then she, West takes such good care of her while she's there, and she sees the father in action that she never had and the family life that she never had with how great he is with the kids. And it's just perfect. It's just perfect. And there's so much set up here for the next book. We see some great scenes with the characters that are obviously going to be in the next book. And I can't wait to read it. And I cannot talk highly enough about this book. The Spice, West. Oh my God, probably one of my favorite MMCs ever. Again, it's so great. It's so great. I don't even know what else to say besides you have to just read this immediately. And then that brings me to my last book, which was also a highly anticipated book because everybody's talking about it right now, which is My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. Read these at the same time, 2 very different situations. So this is a thriller, obviously. And the premise here is that, oh my God, I can't think of the character's name. This is the last book I read. I can't think of the character's name. But anyways, Eden. Okay, so Eden comes home from a run, and her key doesn't fit in the door anymore, and somebody that looks kind of like her answers the door and claims to be her, and her husband kind of doesn't recognize her either, and he's, nobody knows who she is, and it kind of spirals from there. Couple of different perspectives here. We have her perspective, then we have this woman, Birdie, who's... Her grandmother used to live in this town, and she's coming back and kind of like looking into this case. She's sick, and so she's got her own little storyline going on. And so we have her situation here, and she's trying to figure out the case. And then there's the cop in the town, and he's kind of involved in this. So we're getting everyone's stories. We're trying to figure out what's going on here. And then Eden disappears, and so there's like a whole mystery as to what happened and who's involved and who's connected and what's going on. So again, I can't say too much without giving it away, but I will say the only other book I read of Alice Feeney is Rock, Paper, Scissors, which I know is so top of the list for a lot of people. And it's not that I disliked that book. What I think is I don't love the setting of that book, because a lot of people, again, not to get off on a tangent, but a lot of people would put Never Lie by Frida McFadden as one of her top books, and it's not one of my favorites of hers. And I think it's that like secluded cabin in the winter situation that maybe I just don't really connect with and find slow moving. So I think the setting definitely contributed to why I didn't love Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I read that so long ago, so I don't remember like 100% what was going on there, but I just remember not being like super in love with it or impressed or anything. I do know the twist was good, but I just, there was something about that book that I didn't find it as thrilling as everybody else did. I'm going to say the same about this, and I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. This was well written, this was good. I think like the twist was not necessarily a twist, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know. I feel like it was just like we kind of just found out some background that ties things together all of a sudden. Like, I can't explain it. Like, it just, I know that's what a twist is, but it just seemed a little different here. It wasn't like, it wasn't too oh my god for me. Like, it wasn't, and I guess the very, very end has another twist. This is kind of like where there's twist on twist, you know, and that surprised me. I will say that surprised me. But just the overall, like, maybe who's involved, what's connected here, what's going on, wasn't too, like, you know, out of the realm. Like, I just feel like it was just a little convenient, and it just kind of, when the time came, we just found certain things out that made all of that work, and that's what that was. So, again, hard to say without spoiling it, but there was something about it that wasn't, like, totally, like, blowing my mind until I got to the very end, and then I was like, oh, well, that was pretty good. That was a good little twist at the end. I kind of felt the same about, I can't remember the name of it. There was another book of hers that was a series on TV about like a ex-husband and wife, his and hers maybe, something like that. And I didn't read the book, so I don't want to comment on that. But based on the show and how that ended, I could see that that was also where there was like a couple of twists at the end that maybe I wouldn't have seen coming had I read the book. But again, this was just a little bit under my expectations. It was overhyped, I guess, because everybody's talking about it right now and everybody's loving it. And it's not that it was bad, and I did want to keep picking it up. And even when I was reading it at the same time, it wasn't like I just kept reading this because I wanted this too. Like, I really was looking for both. So they both kept my interest. This really did keep me turning the pages. But something about it, I wouldn't put it at 5 stars for me, and wouldn't put it as this is one of the best stories ever. You have to read this. I don't know why, but it was okay. It was good. It was well written. It was, all of that stuff. I'm like, no hate there, but something about it, I guess I'm waiting for that thriller that's like gonna knock my socks off and really come out of left field and like, oh my God, I'm jaw to the floor. Can't believe that this happened. So if you know what that is, please let me know, and that will be on my TBR next. So the book I'm reading now, I am very excited to talk about. I cannot wait for my July recap just for this book alone, assuming that it goes at this pace and continues to be great. And so I promise, I'm going to make a promise that I'm going to get back to doing this every single month. So I will see you at the end of July. Bye.